What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Garrison, and today we're going to be talking about how I went from this to this. There's a lot of things that contributed to my well-being and my progression in surfing, from going from a longboard and a foamy all the way down to a mid-length, all the way down to a shortboard and a fish, and into a high-performance shortboard. Among them, mentality. A huge part of it was hard work and dedication, just not giving up, and perseverance, and going out and paddling out in freezing cold temperatures, like before work, after work, just catching a 30-minute session here and there. Like, all those little sessions really do add up, and that experience that you get in those little time frames totally counts, and it totally matters, and it makes you a better surfer. Another thing that really helped me, as you can tell in the previous photo, is I lost a lot of weight. I lost probably like 60 to 80 pounds, and that really helped me in my progression from surfing. I weighed almost 290 pounds, I think, and now I'm 210 pounds. So that greatly helped my performance in surfing. And when I was 290 pounds, I started with a massive longboard and a really buoyant foamy. And I'm not ashamed to say it, because as an adult that learned to surf, you know, I was out of shape and I didn't really have a passion before, and I was going down like, oh, that's a whole other story and a whole other video, but I was going down basically not a really good path, and surfing really helped me pull myself out of that, because instead of wanting to go down that path, I wanted to go surf, and I needed to be fit to go surf, and I needed to give up certain things in my life and certain lifestyle choices and habits to make me a better surfer. Another thing that I noticed that was happening to me, and I don't know with a lot of other people, is that when I started picking up surfing and found my true passion of this sport, I started getting criticized a lot, and I started doing things that were for me. Instead of going out and partying, or instead of picking up the extra hours at work, I decided, no, I'm gonna focus on my passion instead, with those extra hours, with that extra time I have, instead of getting drunk, instead of making more money, instead of that. So I decided to pick and choose what I wanted to do based around surfing. And I have to tell you that no matter what, just keep your head down and keep going. If you have a passion, you have a goal, and you want to hit it, and it's to do with surfing, it's not going to take a couple of days. It's going to take years. It's a lifelong progression that you can't just expect results in overnight. There are a couple of tips and tricks you can apply that you will see results right away in your surfing, but as a seasoned surfer, it takes a lifetime of experience in order to get there, and I'm not there yet either. I consider myself more like an intermediate / advanced surfer, but definitely more on the intermediate side. I'm newer to advanced surfing. Actually, speaking of which, I just ordered my first high performance shortboard. It's a 6'4" Paisel. I forgot the exact model, but it's super sweet. It's got the super pointy nose, really low entry rocker for some high performance maneuvers, and it's really the most high performance board I've ever ordered and I've ever had. And I will make a video showing you guys that later on, probably next week. But I'm really stoked about that, because the majority of the boards that I ride that are short boards are extremely high volume, like fish hybrid kind of groveler type boards. So this is definitely like my next step in my progression, in my journey, and I'm really stoked to be able to share it with you guys. So one thing we have to remember as surfers, as beginner surfers, as intermediate surfers, even in advanced surfing, you have to remember that surfing is, as I said prior to this, a lifelong sport. It's not something that you're gonna see extreme amounts of progress in one session or overnight. It's something that you get slowly. There's a slow learning curve to it, and if you stick with it, you will see results over time. But most likely if you're paddling out for your first time, don't expect to even catch a wave. It's going to be really difficult, especially if you have never boogie boarded before. It's extremely difficult getting that kind of like that knowledge of the wave and knowledge of how to catch a wave and how to get into a wave even is a whole learning curve in itself. So remember, consistency is key. I know it sounds super duper corny, but consistency, consistency, consistency. Speaking on consistency, I was paddling out probably 3 to 5 times a week when I was learning how to surf, and I started taking it seriously in about 2019, 2020. I'd paddle out, probably at least half the week, I'd say. I tried to go out every day if I could. If there was surf 7 days a week, even if I worked 7 days a week, I would still be paddling out 7 days a week before and after work. I was so dedicated. So I will say, if you really want to progress quickly, the only thing you can truly do is surf. Just surf, surf, surf. You can work out as much as you want. You can do other things. You can eat right. You can meditate. You can be healthy in all these other realms of your life. But if you want to be an amazing surfer, really all it comes down to is you gotta paddle out. You gotta surf as much as you can, and you gotta keep your consistency. Paddle out as much as humanly possible, even if there's 1 foot swells, even if you can barely paddle into the wave because it's just a little bump rolling through. Like, that's when you really, really want to paddle out the most, because you know no one's going to be there, and you can hone in on some skills that you haven't been able to practice because a lineup's too busy, or you're thinking about other things because the waves are too big. It's just a perfect time to paddle out and hone in on your craft. Along with consistency, you have to actually have the desire to want to be better, and that motivation and that drive factor that makes you want to paddle out at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. before work if you have to, or anywhere where you can fit it in. For example, when I started taking surfing seriously, I think it was about 2020, and because that's when those first photos were taken, and I had so much drive, and I just finally feel like I like there was a fire lit under my ass. Like, I finally figured out what the hell I wanted out of life. I finally figured out what I was, who I was, even if I wasn't good at it yet. I knew I was a surfer at heart. I knew I loved I was always an oceanman. I was always a waterman. I was always into like boating and going out and boogieing and paddle boarding and fishing, and I just knew I was a surfer, and I knew before I got good. So I had this desire, this urge, this utter magnetism to the ocean and to the water, and surfing just made that connection all that stronger for me. I had so much desire at the time in my life too, because it was such a shitty time in my life. I had so much desire to get out of the place I was in. I was just looking for an escape so badly that really anything I feel like that was to come into my life at that time, I probably would have really, really clung on to and really made my thing. But it happened to be surfing, and I'm so grateful that I actually found it, and it made me the person I am today, really. One thing you're gonna find out as you progress in surfing, after you've gotten your first board, after you've gotten your second board, is that every board does something different. And if you know me in real life, you know that I have a problem. I am a board hoarder, collector. I love trying new boards. I love the science of new boards. I love everything about new boards and trying different boards out. So I can never just hold one and keep one. And if you're my friend out there and you know me personally in real life, or even if you don't, now you know, something about me is that I always, even when I was a new surfer, I always struggled with keeping one board and just really, really honing in on that one board. I always was trying the next best thing, or trying a different alternative shape or something that looked cool on YouTube that I saw, and I really wanted to try it. So I had some extra disposable income, so I said, fuck it, like, I'll try it. And if I could go back in time and go back 4 years or however long it's been, 5 years, and tell myself, don't do that. Stick with your one longboard for a while and then progress, and then stick with one mid-length for a while and progress, and then slowly size down and take more time with these boards, because because it takes months and months. When you get a new board, it takes months and months for you to actually hone in on how it even feels like under your feet, let alone how to surf it and how good you can actually be on that board and make yourself as dope as you possibly can. For example, my first step down board, I went from a 9.6 Longboard single fin. It was a killer board. I should have never sold it. But I went from a 9.6 to my dumbass just thought, oh, I could go surf anything really. So I bought a 5.8 Ziggy Starfish, and here's a picture of it. It was an awesome board. It was so beautiful. It had like almost like this retro 90s styrofoam cup kind of design over it, and it was so friggin' cool, man. But I took it out like 3 times, and I rode it really well in one swell that was really massive. I remember catching like 3 big waves on it, and I was so stoked. But after that swell went away, it was a 5.8, and I was still a big boy. Like I was still probably 250, 260 at this point in my life. So I was surfing a 5.8 at 250, 260 pounds for a good month or so before I just said, you know what, I've taken this out like a few times now. I cannot ride this. I jumped the gun. I got too big for my britches, and I bought a board that was way too big for me. I mean, way too small for me, rather, sorry. It was way too big of a size gap is what I meant to say. But I returned it, and I went back and I got something, I think it was a 710. I went back and I got a 710, and it was a lot, that's like, what, 1.5 foot jump. So it's still a big jump, but it's way more doable. And I mean, that instantly it was so much easier. I could figure out, I could carve way easier on a 710 than I could on a 9 foot something, 9.6 or something like that. But it was making my life so much easier to the point where I could still hang a 5, but come back and then carve and cut down the line way easier than I could on a 9.6. And after the 710, I ended up buying a 7.0, and it was so sick. It was by Brother Surf Crafts down in, I think, New Jersey. Shout out to them, they're awesome. You should check them out. It was a channel bottom twin fin with keel setup. It was like, I think it was like a jackknife or something like that, but it was super, super, super rad. And that was definitely more high performance than anything I had ridden at the time. At this point, I was probably, I'd say about a year into my surfing, a year and a half into my surfing, and I was jumping around boards too much to really progress like I wanted to. So yeah, if I could say anything to you guys, is do not jump boards all the time. Please take it from someone that did. It hindered my growth so badly. I don't want that to happen to you. I want to see you guys shred. I don't want to see you have to constantly adjust and get used to new little nuances of every single board that you try. Don't do that. Pick one, stay with it, get dope on it, and eventually when you're really, really ready, size down, or maybe you can pick a new fin setup or figure something like that out. Because I will tell you, I've been surfing seriously for about 4 or 5 years now, and I'm just really diving into fin setups and how different fin setups and how different single fins and how different twin fins are different from other twin fins, and they all are, it's a whole other science. So like surfboards are one science, and then like fin setups are a whole other science, and then like together it's surfing. Well, plus your body's mechanics and chemistry and nuances and the oceans and the environment around you. So there's a lot of nuances, but the ones that we can control are our bodies and our boards and our equipment. If you can not switch so much and you can just hone in on one board, you can really, really, really articulate and master those nuances. Another thing I did as an intermediate surfer, a beginner surfer, and even a intermediate / advanced surfer still to this day that I do is I go to YouTube. I search stuff all the time, like how to be a better surfer, surfing tips, for beginners, surfing tips for intermediate people, surfing pop-up tips, surfing how to go down the line, just stuff like that. I watch these videos all the time. Do your online research, because we have this beautiful thing called the internet all of a sudden that our generation of surfing gets that no other generation ever got previously in the surfing culture. So we have all these cheat codes online, and we don't have to spend a lifetime trying to figure out how to fucking shoot down the line. We can just Google it real quick and spend a week learning it, and then we got it, because we're applying our knowledge from what we learn online. So definitely go check out some of my other videos, and there's a lot of other good channels out there. Some are like Longboard Sessions, Kale Brock. Don't just paddle out with no knowledge whatsoever, especially if it's your first time paddling out. Do some YouTubing, how to do this, how to do that. Search it. There's so much free information out there. You don't even really need to go get a surf lesson. Want my honesty? I've never even had a surf lesson. I have learned everything from watching people in the lineup and going on YouTube. The hardest part for a lot of adult surfers is in fact just the pop-up. And once you can master the pop-up, surfing becomes a lot easier. And honestly, it's not an easy thing to do, but once you can get it down and make it fluid, that's when you're gonna have fun surfing, because they teach you how to do pop-ups in surf camps in like 3 steps. It's, you know, you push up, bring your feet up, and then you stand up. But if you can do it all in one fluid motion and not do it in 3 steps, but kind of combine those 3 steps into 1 step and make it like one fluid motion, really, you're gonna have a lot of success, and you're gonna be able to go down the line and shoot down the line, and you're gonna be able to set yourself up to do cutbacks better, just bottom turns. Everything is gonna line up easier. The stars are just gonna start formulating and aligning, and you're gonna be so stoked. And not to mention, there's a lot of videos out there, and there's a lot of workouts out there, and a lot of strengthening exercises out there that all are meant to strengthen and progress and make your pop-up better. So definitely go YouTube, check them out. There's tons of workouts. Just even doing push-ups and crunches and regular exercises in your room will totally help your pop-up. You need strength, you need flexibility, and you need conditioning. But you mostly need consistency. It all falls back to that, because if you're not practicing it and you're not doing it every day and you're not making it muscle memory, your body's gonna feel weird doing it out in the lineup. Like, I'm talking, put a yoga mat down and practice your pop-ups 25, 50 times a day, even 100 times a day. It's almost like it's an exercise in itself. It'll make you sweat, it'll make you feel good, and you will master your pop-up, especially if you're doing it on the floor in your room, and you're gonna be dreaming about it and making it engraved into your brain. Really, when I knew when I was ready to move down and progress down board-wise and like size-wise on my boards was when I was super comfortable in the water, paddling out on the board. My paddle power was pretty much always there, spot on throughout my sessions. Learning how to read waves was a huge thing for me as a beginner, and learning how to kind of decipher when it's worth it to take a wave and when it's worth it to just let it pass. And getting better at popping up was another huge thing that I needed to kind of practice and hone in on before I knew I was ready to size down. But once you master your pop-up and get better at your pop-up on that specific board, especially if it's a longer board, that's a huge indicator that you're ready to size down, because it's harder to pop up on a smaller board. There's less room, so your feet have to travel farther, and it's just a lot more work. And I think one last thing that I'd say that definitely helped me realize that I was ready to progress on my boards is when you start surfing, you're going down the line, and you know it feels great, and you're kind of like skimming down the water, and you put your fingers down in the wave, and it feels awesome, and that's great, and you're just shooting down the line. That's all fine and dandy, but when you're really, really ready to progress to the next board is when you're playing with the wave of the face of the wave, and you're doing your bottom turn, and you smack the lip, and you come back down, and you're maneuvering your board along the face of the wave in some type of way, whether it be aggressively or fluidly, depending on your style. One thing I have been known to do, and I'm trying to kind of kick the habit of, is I buy boards that are more already the level that I'm at as opposed to the level I want to be at. So something that I've done in the past is I'm an intermediate surfer, and my next board should be something that helps me advance and progress as a surfer, but instead I buy a super high volume groveler that kind of just keeps me where I'm at level instead of being able to progress and go size down but keep my skill level going up. So that's been a huge issue for me that I've recently identified that's going to help me in my personal surfing journey. If you're a new surfer and you've only had a foamy in your quiver and you're looking for your first hardtop, you're probably wondering if you should go to a longboard or if you should get a mid-length. I'm going to be straight with you. I'm going to tell you something that not a lot of surfboard salesmen will tell you. I don't think it actually matters. I think it does matter in sense of your progression and which way you go, but I think it's all personal opinion and all so self-dependent on what you want out of surfing. If you want to kind of have a more chill, fluid, relaxed session, I definitely would go longboard. But if you're trying to achieve a more high performance surfing session, then I would probably go with something. Let's say you had an 8-foot catch surf log foamy and you were looking for your first hardtop surfboard, maybe a 7.6 hardtop or a 7.2 hardtop or something like that would be a good suited choice for you. Actually, right behind me, that's a 7.4 2+1 setup. That would be a great step down board from a 8-foot foamy as an example. But really, I don't think that if you're coming from a foamy, it really matters that you have to go to a longboard or you have to go to a mid-length. It's all personal preference. My recommendation to you is look up a bunch of really dope surfing reels of people longboarding, and then look up a bunch of dope surfing reels of people mid-lengthing and surfing kind of like 7-foot boards and whatnot, and kind of determine what style is more attractive to you and what would suit you better and your athletic ability better. It's all personal preference. That's really what it comes down to. Honestly, the only thing I don't recommend is going from what I did, like almost a 10-foot board and then cutting it in half and getting like a 5-something board, because that's just too much of a jump. I recommend if you're going from a foamy, stay within a foot. Just stay within a foot in general, maybe a 1.5 feet if you're really, really athletic. One more tip I have for you guys I wanted to share with you in this video is get yourself a Carver. Looks like this. It's like a surf skate, and they're probably $200 to $300 to get a good one. But dude, as soon as I picked one of these up, I started riding it probably every other day, especially when there's no surf. I'll take it out on the backyard, just mess around. But it really helps you practice your pumping and your carving and driving down the line. And I'll tell you what, as soon as I bought this thing, within a week, my pumping in the water and going down the line on a wave, so much better. And it was so wild, like the instant progression that I had and the instant like, holy shit, like I didn't realize I could pump that hard, but it was because of picking up a Carver. So get yourself a Carver. I don't care what brand it is, just get yourself a surf skate and start practicing on the flat days. You can still practice on flat days. There are things you can do, like surf skating. Another thing that helped my surfing immensely was surfing with people that were way better than me. I had a lot of friends that have been surfing for their whole lives at this point in my life, and I'd just been getting into it. So I started surfing with people that were really, really good, and I was really, really, really not good. And that made me want to get to their level really quick. And so I put in that time, I put in that effort, and they really got to teach me a lot of things that I would have never learned on my own so quickly. Among them being surf etiquette. Surf etiquette is so important, and if you're not sure what the rules are, shout out to Sterling Spencer. You know the rules. Go figure out your surf etiquette at your local break. Kind of go observe, ask people, Google, YouTube, research surf etiquette, because you don't want to go out into a lineup and piss a bunch of people off, because not only will people not really dig your vibe, you're not gonna have a fun time. You're gonna wipe out a lot more. You might get injured. You might injure someone else. There's so many issues with not following proper surf etiquette. Go Google surf etiquette, how to practice proper surfer etiquette, search it, YouTube it, figure it out. You know the rules. It's super important, and I can promise you, if you're a beginner surfer and you have an idea of surf etiquette and you practice proper surf etiquette, even if you're paddling out into an inexperienced break and there's a lot of advanced and seasoned surfers out there, they're gonna have a lot of respect for you as a beginner surfer paddling out there and giving it a go and trying. And they see that you're practicing proper surf etiquette and you're not cutting people off, you're not dropping in on people, you're not snaking waves, and you got your leash properly attached, you know, you're using your equipment right, they're gonna respect you. You got your safety and their safety in mind before anything else, they're gonna respect you. So you guys are probably wondering, what the hell does Garrison ride? I've been talking about boards this whole time. Well, currently, my main two boards are a 6'3" twin fin and this 7'4" 2+1 setup. I did order a new board, two new boards that are coming in within the next couple months. One is a Paizel Phantom. It's 6'4". It's a very high performance board comparatively to what I'm used to for a short board like that one. So I'm super excited, and you guys will be able to see my progression and growth on that board. And the other board I ordered was a 6'10" Channel Islands mid-twin, which I'm super stoked to get. It's gonna be a huge learning curve because although I love riding twin fins, this one's a lot skinnier, a lot more high performance of a twin fin that I'm used to riding. So it's gonna be a huge learning curve, and I'm probably gonna get super frustrated, but we're just gonna keep at it and keep my head down and really make it happen. All right, folks, there you have it. How I progressed from a longboard, slowly working my way down to a high performance shortboard. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. Like this video, please subscribe to my channel. I think about probably sometime next week, I'm gonna be dropping another vlog post about me getting used to my new high performance shortboard. So you guys can see a more advanced surfer struggle just like how you guys have struggled as beginner surfers. So you can watch me struggle and it will make you feel a little bit better. So if you don't mind subscribing, it might help you out, help me out, help me help you. You know what I'm saying? Help a guy out. Subscribe, like, thanks for checking me out. Thanks for hearing my story. I really appreciate your time, guys. Much love.